How is it possible that somebody in 2016, May 2016, was able to predict so accurately to a T how the Ruto presidency would turn out? How is that possible? And this is not even a church person. This is an ordinary Kenyan who knew Ruto very well in those days. And he was able to predict too accurately how his administration would turn out. I'm of course talking about the late Jacob Juma. In recent days, the angry ghost of Jacob Juma has come back to haunt the UDA party big time. Somebody went on Twitter and unleashed many of the old tweets of Jacob Juma. And Twitter, about 2 days ago, was ablaze with the ghost of Jacob Juma. Now, in my opinion, what happened to Jacob Juma is one of the darkest periods of the history of the country called Kenya. And why do I say that? I say that because Jacob Juma gave us a lot of information, gave the world a lot of details. He even named suspects were to be murdered. He just gave a lot of information. Now, the saddest part of it all is the impunity that despite Jacob Juma coming out and speaking his heart, his killers still went ahead and took his precious life. That is so sad. Now, in my supercharged show today, we will dig very deep. And what we're going to unearth will blow your mind. Nothing less. And then we'll wrap it up with the very serious spiritual warning, spiritual direction that this is going to take. Let me just give you a small sneak preview. Of all the evil things somebody in the human race can do, the worst of them all, and the one with the most dire, far-reaching consequences, is that one of taking away somebody's life. That one. There is nothing more serious you can do than that one. And the consequences don't stop with you who took the life. They spread to your entire family and even those people close to you. It is just terrible. We'll look at that towards the tail end of my show today. But first, let us start with the super hot politics surrounding this Jacob Juma manenos, and how the ghost of Jacob Juma has forced itself back into Kenyan politics at a time when too many things are happening too fast. That is really what it is. And that's not an exaggeration. Nothing I have said is an exaggeration. Now, today's show is sponsored by Infinite Robots, and I am very grateful to their sponsorship, which goes a long way in building up this channel that you all love so much. So what do Infinite Robots do? Now, this is very fascinating. You see, we've been invaded by artificial intelligence these days in very many areas. And these days, robots even do trading, currency trading. Now, I know most of us are aware that there's some people who earn a very good living trading currencies. Indeed, years ago, I knew such a man who is still alive today, who was a specialist And every bank in town wanted him because he was so good at what he did. And I met this man when I was very young, playing for my country, Kenya, in the sport of rugby. Yes, he was also a rugby player. And I really admired him at that young age because of his lifestyle. He was doing well, no doubt about that. But we all know that currency trading is not easy. Indeed, it is very high risk. And as you'll hear any businessman tell you, no risk, no gain. That is really what life is about. And Infinite Robots is the perfect place to start for somebody who wants to learn about currency trading by actually doing it. They have packages of as low as 2,500 Kenya shillings or even 5,000 Kenya shillings. The kind of money many people would put aside as learning money. That means you invest that in the currency market and see what happens. But it gets even more interesting than that with Infinite Robots, because they guarantee you a return, because apparently their robots are able to read the market so well that the losses are minimal. Of course, the losses have to be there. Anybody who tells you there's a business with no losses will be lying to you. And by limiting the losses, they're able to give their entry clients, people trying out this, a guarantee for their initial investments, which of course is a very attractive proposition. So those of us on this channel who would like to try it out, you can see the telephone number on your screens right now. It's a Kenyan telephone number, 0759 647 190. Call them and get more details. You can also see their email address. You can write to them and get more details. Get them to explain to you in great detail and start your journey of learning. Learning from experience as you trade. Because we all know experience is the best teacher by far. And so those who are interested, kindly contact our sponsors for our show today. And in case you're very new to investing, remember, caution, caution, caution. Be very cautious and you should be fine. Once something called greed overtakes you, you're done. That's not for investors. Greed is never for investors. Right, let's get this show on the road. Now in 2016, I was retired. Oh yes, I had retired from having anything to do with politics, even political analysis. I had actually retired my Kumekucha brand, and you can confirm this on the blog, kumekucha.blogspot.com. I had actually retired it in the year 2014. And so when the assassination of Jacob Juma happened, I was well and truly off the grid. I never used to watch news. I used to avoid watching news at all costs. I even used to avoid reading newspapers. I wanted nothing to do with the news and politics. And at the time I was enjoying myself after years of looking over my shoulder covering Kenyan politics. Lakini Mungu ni nani? Anyway, I returned towards the tail end of the year 2016, and Jacob Juma was assassinated very brutally on the 6th of May 2016. My point is, if I had been covering and analyzing Kenyan politics and news at the time, I would have been able to do something very comprehensive, and I'd have come up with many, many insights that would have been super fascinating, that one I'm sure of. And so what I have, which is still very, very revealing, is what I knew before 2014 about Jacob Juma, and what I researched well after the fact, starting from early 2017. Now, the very interesting and instructive part of this story is that Jacob Juma and William Ruto were once very close, very, very close associates, at least advising each other, if not doing business together. And then something went terribly wrong with that relationship. We don't know what it was. But the two fell out. And from that point, Bwana Jacob Juma did not hide his hostility and hatred towards Ruto. But Bwana Juma was super accurate in predicting very many things. He even predicted the victory, the unexpected, very surprising victory of Donald Trump in the 2016 presidential elections, when everybody else was very sure Hillary Clinton was going to win, hands down. And he even predicted very accurately the presidency of Ruto. And he said he would move to London, the United Kingdom, until the end of the Ruto presidency, in case Ruto became president. Obviously, this is a man who knew Ruto very well. Now, despite the fact that Raila Odinga and CORD made a lot of accusations against Ruto at the time, especially after the brutal gunning down, murder, assassination of Jacob Juma, despite all that, there is nobody who has given us solid evidence that would stand up in a court of law to accuse anybody. But I want all of us to know that the killers of Jacob Juma will one day very soon be known to all Kenyans with irrefutable evidence pointing at the people behind this heinous act, this terrible spilling of blood in our country. More information on that towards the tail end of this video. So, ni nini ilimaliza Jacob Juma? As Kenyans would typically ask, the answer is very simple. Eurobond. The Eurobond floated by the Kenyan government in the year 2013-2014 ndio ilimaliza huyu jamaa, because he talked too much about it and even threatened to give us evidence of where the money went, the Eurobond money, to which personal accounts, and in what currency, etc., etc. Full details. And he told us these individuals were very powerful people in government, which is rather obvious. And this case had a lot of drama. We had somebody come forward with an alleged confession who gave too much detail of how it was carried out, who ordered it, etc., etc. And the super fascinating thing that this person said is that in the final moments of Jacob Juma's life, this man was there because he helped carry out the job. He asked Bwana Juma where his Eurobonds documents were, and he was told they were in the boot of the car. Of course, it is very possible that some crazy guy can come out of nowhere and fake details and fake the situation and give us fake information. That is very possible. But I thought I should just mention it to emphasize the belief amongst many Kenyans that ile kitu ilimaliza Jacob Juma ni Eurobond, a mystery that to this day has still not been solved. That is the truth. And in my opinion, the Eurobond was the most sickening corruption crime against the people of Kenya. You get money out there which is supposed to help the people of Kenya, and it goes into individual pockets and makes people super wealthy. That was a very sickening crime, and to date it has never been solved. But I am very confident one day it will be conclusively solved and Kenyans will know the entire truth. Fast forward to the present, it is super fascinating that in these tweets that have been brought out from 2016 and in the discussion and comments on Twitter, the name of the president then, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, is really downplayed. he doesn't really feature, which is more than a little surprising. And the other thing about this saga is the timing. The timing of this release of old Jacob Juma tweets from 2016, which were very prophetic, predicted so many things so accurately. It's as if the person was able to see what we're going through as Kenyans now. Now, the timing here comes at a time when we have other mega scandals floating around disturbing Kenyans. Like the government to government oil deal that Raila is talking so much about, and indeed Kenyans are now talking so much about. And just like the Eurobond, the government to government deal is shrouded in a lot of mystery. We don't know the specifics of the deal. And although the government insists that the G2G has really helped Kenya, too many experts say the opposite. They say it has really messed up the country, and that there are people profiting individually from it, just like the Eurobond. Now, ordinarily, in a fictional saga, when a ghost comes back to haunt people, it is a very, very bad sign. And trust me, it is exactly the same in real life. It is not a good sign. It usually means that the culprits, the people responsible for the death of that ghost, are almost being exposed. That is what it usually means. When we started hearing stories of the late Chris Msando's ghost being sighted at the IEBC, what happened next? There was a lot of exposure into details surrounding the demise of the late IEBC computer guru. There was so much information which started floating around. It even ended up with an exchange on social media between former IEBC commissioner Akombe, a very brave lady, and the chief executive officer at that time, a man called Chilobai, or Ezra Chiloba. And in all the chaotic exposure of new information, Kenyans learned that actually somebody betrayed the late Chris Msando, assisted his killers, and led him into a trap that ended up with him leaving this planet. And I'll remind you of something else shocking that happened. The current women's representative for Nairobi, Esther Passaris, came out and gave us a detailed description of a light-skinned man whom she told us those who knew and those who should have known were saying that that was the actual killer of the late Chris Msando. And so if it is indeed true that the killers of the late Jacob Juma are in UDA today, then this ghost coming back at this time, it is the very, very wrong time as far as UDA are concerned. But of course, if they're innocent, then it should be a non-issue. Or rather, if indeed the bigwigs in UDA are completely innocent, they had nothing to do with this Jacob Juma Manenos, then it is a non-issue, and it should not worry UDA. But the signs and the vibes we are getting are suggesting iko kitu. And let me just leave it at that. Please allow me to leave it at that. There is something else that is more than interesting. At the time when there was a lot of controversy back and forth between Raila and at that time CORD, the coalition he led, and William Ruto and his henchmen, at that time there are some reporters who really pushed the issues. This of course were Muhammad Ali and Hussein Mohammed. Muhammad Ali was caught on camera putting a lot of pressure on the then CID boss. The DCI those days was called CID. On the then CID boss, Abwana Degwa Muhoro and asking him a very simple question. He asked him whether he had questioned William Ruto. And Muhoro completely refused to answer that question and was caught on camera looking very nervous and lost. Can you imagine a whole boss of the DCI looking so nervous? And then, of course, Hussein Mohammed, then working for Citizen, posed the question directly about the murder of Jacob Juma to the then Deputy President, William Ruto. Now, the very interesting thing here is that today, both these two journalists are deep in the UDA camp. Okay? Muhammad Ali is deep in UDA and is the MP for Nyali. Hussein Mohammed is the chief guy in Ruto's media team. How things change. Who would have predicted this? In 2016, at the height of the Jacob Juma drama. Who? I'm telling you this live. More than interesting. Now, very quickly, the spiritual angle, which explains why very soon Kenyans will know a lot of details and will also know the killers of Jacob Juma. You see, we're in the season of judgment. And we have said many times on this channel that as judgment is going on, and even before judgment, and even after, there is something called exposure. You know, sometimes judgment and justice is delayed, but it finally comes. A case in point is a king who was called Ahab in the Bible, and his very evil wife called Jezebel, who murdered an innocent person for their land. We all know that story. But a part of that story that may be less known is how all the 70 princes of the house of Ahab were all finished, destroyed, killed in one day. And the judgment spread even to the friends and people who were close to the family. Bottom line, when judgment comes over the spilling of innocent blood, it does not spare. And so, in my opinion, the reason why Jacob Juma's ghost has come back at a time such as this is because we are in the season of judgment. And therefore we should expect very, very shortly, for things to happen very quickly. And Kenyans will be able to know. Kenyans will be able to see those who were responsible for the very heinous, brutal murder of Jacob Juma. For now, please allow me to give you a very important heads up. At least this information will prove to be valuable to some of us on this channel. Now, we all know that times are very hard. And people in business, people want to promote their businesses, are having a very difficult time reaching their potential clients. And you know, this is critical for any business to survive during these hard times. Somehow you have to get business. Now I have the greatest news. This channel reaches a very unique audience. Kenyans in the diaspora, older Kenyans. You know, the channels reach a lot of young people. And unfortunately, most young people don't have much purchasing power. But the purchasing power in the views on this channel are huge. And we have proved that. Somebody advertised some land the other day in Naivasha. Within hours of that video going up, it was sold. And we're talking about a double-digit million. And therefore, if you have a product or service that you need to promote, I think you should seriously consider sponsoring a Kumekucha video. That means that you get a mention in one of my videos and a lot more to let others know what you're doing. And I'm sure a lot of your potential clients always tune in very regularly to this channel. And therefore it is a fabulous, amazing opportunity for you to reach your audience very cheaply and very effectively. Kindly check in the description area of this video for more details. And then you can also send me an email on that email address you see on your screens right now, or even call directly on that number for more information. Now, of course, space is limited. Yeah, we already have 1 or 2 people lined up, and it's very limited because we can't do this for everybody, and we do not produce that many videos. Yeah, therefore I suggest that you take action immediately so that you don't lose this golden opportunity. Now, I've just released weekly intelligence briefings number 115. Yeah, and there's a very good opportunity of getting hold of my weekly intelligence briefings by taking full advantage of our latest offer on that book, audiobook, the Ruto Kenyans Will Never Know. There is a unique opportunity over the next 24 hours to do so. If you feel that you need this very important content and your budget doesn't quite cut it to enable you to get your hands on it, for the next 24 hours, you can name your price. Lakini usinifinye sana. And for that reason, the limit will be 50. Yeah, the first 50 to send me an email on that email address you see on your screens right now, youmissthis@gmail.com, naming your price. And then guess what? I will also throw in another valuable Kumekucha book. You can choose for yourself, or you can allow me to choose for you. The most liked of my other ebooks, of course, is Dark Secrets of the Kenyan Presidency, How Mutula Kilonzo Sr. was murdered. Yeah. And then there's another one called The President's Lovers. Now, that last one of you took it in recently, and they were delighted, very excited about it. And yes, it talks about a Kenyan president. And so, you have this very exciting opportunity. Please take full advantage of it. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.